Hello, everyone. Glad to see you here. It means a lot that you're here with me today. Not because you're perfect, but because you showed up. And sometimes, showing up is the bravest thing we can do. This is Quick Fix English, and this is your space. A soft place to land, to grow, to feel safe with your voice again. Let's start with a truth many of us carry quietly. We wait. We wait for the perfect word, the perfect sentence, the perfect day when we'll suddenly feel ready to speak English. But that day never really comes, does it? Let me tell you about Hana. Hana moved to London from South Korea. She had studied English for years, grammar excellent, vocabulary impressive. But when it came time to speak, she froze. "I'm not ready," she'd whisper to herself. Not yet. She told herself she'd speak once her pronunciation was better, once her accent was softer, once she felt less embarrassed. But months passed, then a year, and Hana was still silent. One evening, she met a man at a cafe. They started talking slowly, awkwardly, with pauses and laughter. Her English stumbled, but he didn't seem to care. At the end of the conversation, he said, "Thank you. Talking with you made my day." Hana cried that night, not because she was embarrassed, but because she finally understood you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be real. So if you've been waiting to feel ready before you speak, I want you to hear this. Ready isn't a moment that arrives. Ready is a decision you make, and you can make it right now. Try saying this out loud. I am allowed to speak, even if I make mistakes. Not someday, not later, now. Because the truth is, speaking isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning. And the people who grow fastest aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who try, even when it's messy, even when it's scary, especially then. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving your voice another chance. Next, we'll meet someone who tried even when they felt far from perfect and how one small step helped them rewrite their whole story. But for now, I hope you'll remember your voice isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to begin. Do you remember Hana, the woman who waited to be perfect before she allowed herself to speak? Let's go deeper into her story. After that cafe conversation, something shifted inside her. It wasn't a miracle. She didn't wake up the next day suddenly fluent, but she stopped hiding. She began speaking up during work meetings, even if just to say, "I agree," or "Can you repeat that?" She joined the book club, even though it scared her. She started leaving voice messages for her family back home, not in Korean, but in English, just to practice, just to play, and each time she spoke, something magical happened. Not outside. Inside, she began trusting herself. You see, that's what speaking does. It builds a bridge not just to others, but back to your own heart. Because for many of us, the fear of speaking English isn't about the language. It's about shame, about that little voice that whispers, "You're not good enough. They'll laugh. You'll fail." We've all heard that voice. Sometimes it sounds like a memory from school, from a cruel comment, from being corrected in front of others. But what if that voice is lying? What if your mistakes don't make you weak but brave? Let me tell you about Jay. Jay is from Vietnam. He told me that every time he spoke English, his hands would sweat, his voice would shake. He avoided interviews, dates, even friendships because he thought he didn't sound smart enough. One day, a friend told him, "Jay, your English isn't broken. Your confidence is..." That hit him hard, but it woke him up. So Jay began a tiny ritual. Every night before bed, he recorded himself talking for 2 minutes in English, just whatever came to mind, his day, his thoughts, his fears. At first, he hated hearing his voice, but slowly, something changed. He realized he didn't need to sound perfect. He just needed to sound like himself. And today, Jay's working as a youth counselor, in English, helping others find their voice too. So if your voice shakes, speak anyway. If your accent feels heavy, speak anyway. If the words don't come out right, speak anyway. Because every time you speak, you're not just practicing English, you're healing the part of you that believed you couldn't. That's powerful. Thank you for coming back again. You could have closed this file, walked away, but you didn't. That means something. In the next part, we'll explore why perfectionism holds so many of us hostage and how to gently let go of it, one brave word at a time. You don't need permission to speak. You just need to remember, you already can. There's a quiet pressure that lives inside so many of us. It doesn't shout, it whispers. You should be better by now. You can't speak until you're fluent. You're not ready. This pressure has a name, perfectionism. And it's heavy, isn't it? Perfectionism convinces us that making mistakes is shameful, that anything less than flawless is failure, that we have to earn the right to speak. But here's the truth. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be real. Let me tell you about Rosa. Rosa moved from Colombia to Boston for work. She knew English well, but every time she spoke in meetings, she panicked. She memorized entire paragraphs before speaking. She avoided spontaneous conversations. She rehearsed emails 5 times before hitting send. And still, she felt like a fraud. One day, her manager pulled her aside. "Rosa," he said gently, "you don't need to sound like a textbook. You just need to sound like you." That sentence broke something open in her, so she tried something new. She gave herself permission to make one mistake every day. Not just permission, she planned for it. She called it her daily imperfection. Some days it was a wrong verb. Some days it was forgetting a word and laughing through it. And you know what happened? She started enjoying English again. Because when the fear of perfection left, freedom walked in. Here's something I want you to remember. Perfectionism doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you silent. You weren't born fluent. No one was. Fluency is the result of bravery repeated over time. Not talent, not luck. Just trying again and again, with compassion. So, what if today, you gave yourself permission to be imperfect? Not someday, not when you're better, but now. Try saying it out loud. It's okay if I get it wrong. I'm still growing, because real confidence isn't built in silence. It's built in messy conversations, shaky sentences, and kind self-talk. Thank you for continuing this journey with me. I know it's not always easy, but your willingness to come back even when it's uncomfortable is the very definition of courage. Next time, we'll explore how to turn fear into fuel, how to use nervousness not as a wall, but as a doorway to growth. But for now, just breathe. You're doing better than you think. Fear. It's one of the most powerful emotions we carry. And when it comes to speaking English, it often shows up uninvited. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your mind goes blank. You know the words, you've studied, you've prepared, but still, fear steals your voice. What if they don't understand me? What if I make a mistake? What if I sound stupid? These questions live in the mind of every language learner, and that's okay. But here's something you might not have heard before. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal. It's the part of you that cares. It's the part that wants to do well, to be accepted, to connect. So instead of trying to kill your fear, what if you listen to it? Let me tell you about Amir. Amir was from Iran, studying in Italy. Every time he had to speak in English during class discussions, he panicked. Not because he didn't know the answer, but because he was afraid of looking foolish. One day, he decided to try something different. Instead of fighting the fear, he wrote it down. Before class, he'd write, "I'm afraid I'll forget my words. I'm afraid they'll laugh at my accent. I'm afraid I'll freeze." And then, underneath each fear, he wrote a quiet response. "It's okay to forget. My accent is part of who I am. Even if I freeze, I can try again." That small act of compassion changed everything. Amir didn't stop being afraid. But now, his fear wasn't a monster. It was a message. Fear doesn't mean don't speak. Fear means this matters to you, and that's beautiful. So today, if your fear shows up, don't push it away. Sit with it. Speak kindly to it. Let it be there, but don't let it decide. Try whispering this to yourself: I'm scared and I'll speak anyway. That's bravery. That's power. Thank you for showing up again. Your courage is not invisible here. I see it. I honor it. In the next part, we'll explore the idea of progress, why small, imperfect steps matter more than we think, and how to keep going when growth feels slow. But right now, take a deep breath. You are not failing. You are feeling, and that means you're alive and growing. Let's pause here and talk about something gentle, something often overlooked: progress. Not perfection, not speed, just steady, imperfect, real progress. It's easy to think we're failing when we're not fluent after months or even years. It's easy to compare ourselves to others who seem to speak more easily, more confidently. But here's something I need you to know. Progress isn't loud. Progress isn't flashy. Progress is quiet and sometimes invisible. Let me tell you about Aiko. Aiko was from Japan, working at a hotel in New Zealand. Her English was good, but she never felt confident. She always compared herself to her co-workers. She hated how long it took her to form a sentence in her head. One day, she started keeping a small journal. Every evening, she wrote down just one thing she did in English that day, asked a guest if they needed help, ordered coffee without checking Google Translate, made a joke during the staff meeting. Some days, she struggled to think of anything, but she always found something. After 2 months, she looked back at her pages and she cried because she realized she had grown, just not in ways she could always feel. That's what real progress looks like. You don't always notice it, but it's there. Every time you try, every time you speak when it's uncomfortable, every time you keep going after a mistake, that's progress. So if today you feel slow, good. That means you're paying attention. That means you care. The fastest way to grow: be kind to yourself. Try saying this: I'm not behind, I'm becoming. Say it again. Let it soak in, because the world will try to rush you. Perfection will try to scare you. But your heart already knows you're doing this the right way. Your way. Thank you for staying with me. Every moment you give to yourself here, it adds up. And it matters. In the next part, we'll talk about how speaking connects us to other people, how language is about belonging, not performing. But for now, maybe write something down tonight. Just one sentence, one effort, one tiny win. It counts. You count. Language is not a test. It's a bridge, a way to reach another heart, a way to say, I see you, a way to say, you matter. But somewhere along the way, many of us forgot that. We started treating English like a performance, something to get right, something to pass, something to prove. Let's change that. Let me tell you about Rehan. Rehan moved from Pakistan to Germany for school. He spoke English every day, but always with fear. His professors, his classmates, even strangers on the bus, they all became reasons to stay quiet. He thought, if I can't speak perfectly, I shouldn't speak at all. Then something unexpected happened. A new student from Syria joined his class. She barely spoke any English. She looked lost, afraid. Rehan remembered what that felt like, so he sat beside her, and he tried. His words were clumsy, his sentences were slow, but he reached out anyway, and she smiled. A real smile. They became friends, not because Rehan was fluent, but because he was kind, because he spoke even when it wasn't perfect. That's the power of connection. When you speak, even imperfectly, you give someone else a reason to feel safe, to feel seen. Your mistakes do not block connection. Your silence does. So speak. Speak slowly. Speak with pauses. Speak with your heart wide open, because the people who matter won't care if you mess up a verb tense. They'll care that you tried. Here's something to whisper to yourself the next time you feel nervous. My voice builds bridges. Say it again, because every conversation, every smile, every small moment can be a thread that connects you to someone else. And English is just a tool. You are the magic. Thank you for being here. I hope you're starting to feel what I feel, not fear, not pressure, but possibility. We'll close this journey soon. And in our final part, we'll talk about what it really means to be free with your voice. Not perfect, not fluent, just free. But before we get there, maybe today you'll use your voice for something small, a greeting, a question, a kind word. Even one word can reach across oceans. Let it. This is it. The final part of our journey together for now. You've made it here not because you're perfect, but because you kept going, and that's what matters most. Today, I want to talk about freedom. Not fluency, not grammar, freedom. Freedom to speak without apology. Freedom to try without fear. Freedom to be fully yourself in English. That kind of freedom isn't given. It's claimed. It starts with a choice to stop waiting, to stop hiding, to stop believing that your voice isn't ready, because it is. Let me tell you about Mara. Mara was from Brazil. She'd lived in Canada for 5 years, but still didn't speak much English. She felt stuck, like she was watching her life from behind a glass wall. One day, her daughter said, "Mom, I wish people could know how funny you are in Portuguese." That broke her heart, because Mara had so much to say, so much light to share. But she'd let fear keep it hidden, so she made a decision. Every day for 1 month, she recorded a 60-second video in English, not for the internet, just for herself. At first, she stuttered, she forgot words, she wanted to quit. But then something shifted. She laughed more, she stopped translating in her head, she started talking like herself, not a student, not a stranger, but Mara. One night, her daughter watched the video and said, "There you are." And Mara realized she hadn't been waiting to be fluent. She'd been waiting to feel free. So today, maybe that's your invitation too. Not to be perfect, not to pass a test, but to come home to your voice, to speak like someone who belongs because you do. You always have. If you've come this far, I want to say something clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are building something beautiful, sentence by sentence, word by word, breath by breath. Keep going, not for the world, but for yourself, because your story matters, and the world is better when we get to hear it in your voice. Thank you for trusting me on this journey. Thank you for choosing Quick Fix English, and most of all, thank you for choosing yourself. We'll be here anytime you need a reminder of how brave you already are.